Oh, and down he goes! Right hand, left hand! And I don't think he's going to get up! I think it's all over! I think it's over! Is he going to get up? Can he get up? Can he get up? He does! Oh my goodness! Somehow Fury has managed to get up!
Hello folks, and welcome back to the Brawl Boxing podcast, brought to you by the Brawl Network and powered by 92 Degrees. I'm Kieran McCourt, and I'm joined by co-hosts Colin McGuigan and Ram McLaughlin. I just want to give another big shout out this week to our sponsor, 92 Degrees. They're a coffee shop which started in Liverpool and now they're expanded into various other cities such as Manchester and Leeds. So if you're in any of them cities, please get yourself the 92 Degrees coffee. It's absolutely creme de la creme and they've made it so easy for us coming on board. It's really helped a lot. So thanks a million, lads.
Thanks for that, McCourt. Well, folks, we're back this week with a fellow Belfast man and one of the reasons professional boxing is absolutely booming in our city. So please welcome former European and Commonwealth super flyweight champion, Michael Conlan. Jamie, how are you doing, mate?
Dead on, that's all good. How's things?
All good. Colin, you got that wrong. You know, I've got an inside source here that Jamie's not the real name. Apparently it's Richard. It's an inside source I didn't want to reveal. He said I can't reveal him.
Either my brother or my parents.
He shared at Warzone. So you can make your pick from that.
Actually watched my first ever fucking Twitch thing. Is it Tyrone put it on his Instagram?
Oh, Tyrone's.
And all it looked like, ever see when a dog has three legs and it's scraping its arse across the ground? And I said, I text him, says, why do you keep like just sliding on the ground? He says, that's how you move faster. Is that right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's that slide constant nuisance. Mick, to be fair, Mick's got a lot better. Like Mick's got really good at it. Must be so many fighters on that now. Like, because we were playing with Shakur Stevenson, Mick, and Sonny Edwards.
Josh Kelly as well.
Josh Kelly, yeah. Josh is flat. Well, he not anymore, like, because obviously he's got the big fight next week. But yeah, there's so many of them.
Well,
you not on it, Jimmy?
No, I don't know. I have no time. 2 kids, as I said earlier. Valentine's Day, there's no such thing. A fucking PlayStation, there's no chance.
What's Mick's excuse then?
Boxer, they take up their own time. Ran professional athletes, they have their own fucking world. You can do.
Absolutely.
I think my play time's about 40 days, like, which is alarming. 40 days.
The big guy Thor, he's supposed to be brilliant. He has
really?
a big Twitch account or something. I'd never heard of whatever Twitch was until I met with his manager, and he was explaining to me about this guy Thor playing Twitch that 1,000 people or something watching.
That's 1,000 people watching. That's unbelievable. That's another flipping income, like a serious income.
That's what he's explained to me, that it was a source of income that he just plays a game and puts it on this account and people pay money to watch. Pay money to watch and playing it.
Tell you what,
pay-per-view Twitch. That's the future.
I know. Here, you see people, boxers getting punched in the face, and then you're sort of just sitting there playing the game, playing with your mates, and you're getting paid for that. You must be thinking, half of your stable, Jimmy, will be wanting to leave. Get on Twitch.
I always thought I'd be play football, sure, and that was an easy fucking income.
Oh, Jimmy, as Colin touched on it there, you've played a big, massive part in the new wave of boxing in Belfast. I mean, it's just booming, and obviously in the whole of the UK and Ireland as well. But we just wanted to take it back, how you first started getting into boxing.
Well, I started, but we done everything. Me and my brother Brendan done everything. Mick was still a bit too young, and my dad would have brought us every different sport: karate, football, GAA, every sport going, and we never really stuck at it. But I started playing football for Celtic boys. Thought it was going to be the next big thing. I thought it was brilliant. It wasn't great, but I was too small. Our Breton wanted the box, but I had I didn't want to box at all. Did not want to go training, didn't want to box, didn't have any inkling that I wanted to fight. And my dad told me that Michael Owen went boxing and got stronger because he was small. That's how he got stronger, and they weren't able to push him off the ball. So you go boxing for a year, you stick it out for a year, 3 days a week with Brendan, and I'll give you 50 quid at the end of the year. And I never got the 50 quid, but I put in the boxing. He had tricked me into boxing to do that. I wasn't great at football. I was too small at football. I used to think it was brilliant in the street, like every kid in the street. But when I was actually playing proper football for a team and you seen how they actually played, you understood it weren't great. But I think I spent a few years with Celtic boys, went to America, did all this here kind of stuff. And then we just I came a time where I had to juggle between the both of them, and I picked boxing. Once you got in, you realize that it is a drug. Like once you get into boxing, it's something that.
Were you good at it straight away?
No, I don't know. Lucky enough, I thought we had very good coaching, because my dad and Shawnee McCaffrey, they wouldn't let me fight, or wouldn't let any of us fight, me and Brendan, for the first year. Like, you were allowed to spar, but you were not allowed to fight, and sparring was limited. So like, you were just learning, like constantly drilling, and like they wouldn't even replay music, so it was like hardcore. We were the youngest in the gym. Not where the kids were like in the gym. Big Stevie Martin would have been the elder statesman in the gym and stuff. But we were kind of, I don't think I was great at the start. Like, just raw, rugged it, like most of us. Our Brent was actually better. And Michael was too young. He was totally had to leave. He was too young. He then went and trained in Clonard Boxing Club for his first year, and then came with myself and my dad.
That's mad. See, you always get a lot of footballers that say, like, boxing training. Well, you get told as a footballer, like, boxing training is like the hardest training and all. Like, you should do that on your off season because you'll come back unbelievable. And James McLean does a lot of boxing training. You see on his Instagram, and he's one of the fittest footballers I've seen. So, like, clearly, it's obviously boxing training is insane. Was that like hard your first session going in there? Like the difference between training with football going into boxing?
I was young. I was a kid. So when you're a kid, you're full of energy. You're flat out. But as we got older, like a few of my mates who played for Antrim and played GAA, high level GAA, when they came training with us, they couldn't hack it. It was completely different. Ryan Catton used to come down, used to play with us, or used to train with us when he was playing for Cliftonville. And then a few other lads used to come and train, and you could see that it's different muscle groups. You're programmed from a young age to kind of like you'd be a lot fitter at me at football. Like, not even like sprints, you'd probably be 10 times better at me at sprints. Your muscle groups are different. Your lung capacity is probably different and how they kind of record it. But the one thing about boxing is it's one of them sports. If you're fit in it, you'll be okay at every other sport. You'll be able to do it with every other. You hold your own with every other sport. You won't be the best and most technically gifted, but if you're that fit at boxing and you can master the technique of boxing, you can really hold your own at every other sport.
That's why Sean's got signed by St James's Swifts. That's why he's absolutely running the moat down the left flank. He's doing well there.
We've heard like Mick say in a lot of interviews that he looked up to you a lot, when he was younger, and he only really got into boxing because of you. And I've heard him even say that he probably would have quit if you had quit. Was that something you thought about? That you were like a role model for your younger brothers?
No, well, from an early age, no one would have believed me when I used to tell people at the very start. I worked in Bombardier, even when I was a pro at the start, but I would have told everyone from no age that our Michael is the best thing I've ever seen. He was doing things when he was 11, 12 that I still haven't seen like high level professionals do. So he used to get in the ring. He was 12, 13, and me and one or two other lads, like we're 5 years older than him, 5 years older than him. And we were like trying to hurt him, like kind of hang. And he was getting around. Starting off, you were like letting him do wee things and practicing all wee different things. And he would shadow you everywhere. But he just, there came a time when I think he was maybe 15, 16. And it was the first time he kind of give me it and actually got better at me. He was better than me. And you were kind of, your ego was, he's my younger brother. Like, I should be the older brother. I should be battering him no matter what. So we would go at it. And then my dad, one time, we were in a sparring war because there was one time in the gym as amateurs, both amateurs, I got the better of him in the round and the belt went and he just came over from back behind me and started digging the head back. Crazy, like, but all the mental battles he had from a very young age, like, it's probably built him to where he's been now. He was able to cope with a lot of me and our Brayton would have both kind of like been trying to always like goad him to attack us or goad him to do something, make him pay for it, and then stuff like this. And then I think it was one of his, like, he had a fight, and everything we done to him, he done to someone. And you just knew then he's learned that we Miyagi him. We basically Miyagi him the whole way through his young life. But he was always, like, you could see from a very young age. I think I had to train as hard as I trained to be what I was, where Michael was just naturally gifted. And then that comes to the that question of like natural talent and hard work, which is more. And Michael then took on, incorporated the hard work that my dad and myself kind of kept drilling into him, and that's what made him the fighter he is today.
Did you ever ponder on like the idea that you might meet in like an Ulster final?
Well, we see his first Ulster seniors ended up being my last Ulster seniors. I retired because I think he lost in the Commonwealth Youth Games in Breen in India. Came back and he had just made like the senior level at that age. I think it was 17, or above 16. He just made that level by 5 or 6 days. It was late November. His birthday's in November, and my dad said, "Listen, I'm going to put him in." He was looking very good in the gym. I still didn't. I knew he was hing, but he was still like kind of hing. He still hadn't truly proved himself, even though we had seen everything in the gym. And he entered it. I think he beat Rory Dalton and he beat someone else. We were both ending up in the same weight flyweight. He had Rory Dalton and a few others, and I had beat Rory the year before, but had beat Rory by like 1 or 2 points in a very tough fight. And I knew Rory was good. He beat him and beat him very convincingly. And then I had beat 1 or 2 guys in the other half of the draw. We got to the final, and John Breen came and approached me about turn professional, and Michael then won the Ulster Seniors on a walkover in the final and went to Australia. And I was devastated because it was like my 5th Ulster Senior title in a row. And it was the first year, it was like a come-off games year. And they were going to Australia for like a pre-warm-up tournament. And I was going like, fuck, I'm just getting to Australia and all this. We had agreed the whole way through that this was like, if we got to the final, I was going to take it. Mick has another year to develop. But the way he performed that year, like we sat down, me, him, my dad, and actually my man as well, and kind of said, "This is the best." Like for him, for his.
Was there ever even a seed of thought that you ever would have thought, or was it like no?
No. The one thing I regret is early days in John Breen's gym. He used to come down and spar. He used to come up from the Irish team, him, Paddy Barnes, and he used to spar me, Mark McCulloch, and a few others. But me and him used to really go at it. And there would be people coming up into the gym and actually watching the spar and like cheering and stuff, or like hanging after and clapping. I remember just one day, I gave him I busted his nose. I hit him like a full on right hand. I busted his nose. And I went to say, like, "Are you okay?" And as I said, "You okay?" He hit me like 4 clean shots, bang, 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 bang. I went myself, I knew then after, I had to sit down after and say, "No more are we doing this for everyone, all these kids here who are watching this, and they think it's amazing. These two are not going to shoot." But like we're properly battling each other. From then on, we did keep sparring, but we did a thing which we knew each other, tag team sparring. Whereas the other guy who wasn't in on the fucking thing, it was always 3-way. Mark McCulloch, who now Ken Hing, and Kieran Farrell would have got a lot of the brunt of it. Whereas me and Michael would have went easy on each other. And then as soon as we were out, we would go hard on the other guy. So we knew you only had 3 minutes or 3 rounds to go hard on him. You get out, the other guy jumps in for 3 rounds, and that's how we got learned after that.
That's mental. You touched on it there, Jamie, about obviously John Breen approaching you to go pro and stuff. You had near enough 120 amateur fights. Was there a point of your amateur career where you thought, like, you know what, I'm pretty good at this, I can make a living from it?
No, God, I wanted to retire a lot, you know. I not there at that moment in time. I had left amateur boxing before that there, and kind of was saying, like get into work and stuff like this. I didn't think, at that time there was no pro scene. After amateur boxing, people would have, like the likes of TJ Hamill, Eamon O'Keefe, McCluskey then went pro, O'Kane went pro, with the Hamill brothers, Brian Gillen, all these kind of different fighters. Martin Lindsay then went pro, but all these ones would have like stuck around to their late 20s, 30s in the amateur game. Amateur boxing still at that stage was on BBC, the Ulster Senior Finals, the RTE for the national championships. It was still kind of, that was it. There was no pro scene. There was no elevation into the next level. It started to change. Like when I turned pro, McCluskey was already a pro, and he was kind of developing into like an elite level pro and bringing big TV fights over here. But there was no small hall boxing scene to kind of like learn from where there is now. There was no constant shows. There was no consistency in promoters coming over and developing fighters here. When a promoter come over here, they were bringing their own crop. So when Frank Warren or Eddie Hearn come over, the Irish lads were getting used as the opponents. So it was cheaper opponents. So your career was hindering on beating a prospect from England, and that's kind of what pro boxing was. Around when I turned pro, and that's at the start of my career. It was very hard because of that, because there was no real consistency here. There was no actual scene. So
did John Breen have to sell it to you then more?
No, we trained in John Breen's gym at night time. We didn't have a gym, so myself and Michael and whatnot, as amateur club, we were training in Breen's gym. The benefit of that was I was getting to go down in on Saturdays and spar with the pros. So he'd bring me in, spar with Colin Moffat, Kevin O'Hara, Andy Murray, and a few others. So I was getting spar with them, and he kept saying to me about going pro. But he had let me know from the very get-go, there's no real money in this. Keep your job. But, I believe you can be something and all this here. And I had trust in his word. I trust in the process. I knew there wasn't like no big sign-on fee given to me. Me and Frampton, I think, turned pro in the same year. And I met him in Beachmont because his missus's his mother-in-law lives in Beachmont. And he had told me it's him at Barry McGuigan. I think he said 20 grand or whatever it was saying and all this here, and he told me his thing, and I'm going like, okay, that's big money, isn't it? Like now you're going, what Michael got signing on and what I've seen other people do, you're going like, okay, it wasn't big money, but to us then, for me then, I was like, fuck me, he's made it, 20 grand.
What do you think the turning point was in the pro boxing scene in Belfast? Like changing over from basically just being like bait really for the English prospects, from actually literally being a spotlight. Because I remember like the first time I seen a proper Belfast card was like Rogan Sexton, and that press conference was insane. Like we were all kids when you were watching. You just remember him just going, "You better believe it." Like, you just remember him banging the table.
That's where we're at. I made my debut.
Yeah, you were on that card.
I made my debut, and I got very lucky. I had sold 300 or 400 tickets. I had bundles of money that I've never ever seen before in my life, bringing it down to Frank Warren. Ian McGee came with me, and you got like 10% commission on your tickets and all as well. I was earning probably more on the commission of tickets than I was on the actual fight purse. And you're going like, so they said to me on the night, so the day before, said to me, you're the float, which means you actually don't have a time slot. You don't know when you're going to go on. You have to be there from 6 o'clock at night, ready to go till the last bell. There was 2 floats, and I was the float. I was the first float, sorry. Warm up in the dressing room with Sweet Pea and a few others. I think Neil Sinclair and 1 or 2 others, and Rogie obviously. But it was weird. But I got very lucky because Rogie was from West Belfast and from the Lower Falls. Everyone was buying tickets. They couldn't really get them off Rogie, but they got them off me. So they started so I piggybacked off that fan base kind of thing.
Yeah.
And got lucky on the float because someone got knocked out or someone stopped their guy a fight before, and they rushed me in just before Rogie. Now it was weird how it happened. It was the first time, and probably the first time it's happened ever since. It won't happen again. Sky Sports came to Belfast, and Macrofelt, Paul McCluskey fought in the same night. So they was instead of showing me on Sky Sports, they flicked it over and showing someone else on Macrofelt. I didn't care at that moment in time because I didn't see the bigger picture. I didn't see anything that could have done for my career. All I'm saying is every come from the road is getting to see me fight here. So from the next fight, everybody came again, and it worked in my favor. Like it became, got out a following off the back of it. When I think now, it was a great thing that they're lucky how it all rolled that way.
You're probably thinking to yourself, I'll never have to buy a pint in the Rock Bar again.
I'm on lower down here. We're lower down.
The beehive.
I have a
That's
special knock
unreal.
on the door in the beehive and they let me in.
That's Connor Burns letting you in the back door.
The Mexican and Connor Burns running rat. You mentioned there, Jamie, about you touched on John Breen, like going with John Breen. Tell me this, I need to know, is it as much as a sweatbox as people say?
It was, it was crazy. Like the super surge were on from the morning to night. At the time, being very young, 22, I'm thinking this is the way pro boxing should be done. You know, like this is hard, has to be really tough. Now at 34, I'm going, fuck, that was dangerous. You know, very, very dangerous for everyone in that gym. Very, very dangerous what we were going through. 5 days a week sparring, taking a lot out of us. It was really tough, very, very tough. I spoke with Mark McCulloch on it because he stayed a bit longer than me, and they were very tough days. Days where you're like, well, I couldn't be annoyed sparring, but you were getting thrown in. Lucky enough, I think I got away with the sparring a wee bit less than Mark because there was no real flyweights around. So if everyone else was sparring, I was usually have to spar with Andy Murray, who would have. Thankfully, Andy wouldn't have went full tilt on me of being a lightweight. And McCluskey didn't go hard on me too much. But I learned so much off them. They would have let me know what I had to do and what I was doing wrong. The 10 days were really tough. Making the weight though was easy because
yeah, because
you're making weight 8 weeks from the fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Just constantly on weight.
Now, when you know all the nutrition side of it, you're going, that's fucking terrible for you. Know, it's really bad. But there and then, I thought this is the way. This was pro boxing, a lot tougher, a lot in. The fitness was unbelievable. One thing I always owed testament to John was he got you as fit as anyone could get you. He cracked the whip very well, and you know he really pushed it really hard.
But it seemed like your style was always like tailor-made for the pros. Like one thing about you were always in exciting fights. Do you think that sort of atmosphere, being in the Breen's gym, added like an extra layer of toughness to you when it did go into them sort of wars?
I never really truly thought of it, but yeah, it was a real tough place. You know, people, John always would be, you know, proud at the fact that a lot of seasoned pros didn't cut it at Breen's gym. They got out pretty quick, and I've seen a lot of good fighters jump out of the ring after 2 rounds in Breen's because of the heat. There was a day it was roasting in the summer, and super stars were on from the morning. Like, he had 3 super stars, 2 at the front at the ring, 1 at the back. The heat, as soon as you walk in, hits you straight in the face. Alio had brought in a Ghanaian Commonwealth Games bronze or silver medalist, tough wee rugged man, like hit very hard. So he got into the ring, and Breen's ring as well was tiny, always tiny. Into the ring, and I was boxing head him. I had a vest on or a t-shirt on, 2 rounds. I said, take this off me. Pulling it off, and I said to him, fucking turn that heater off. I can't breathe in here. It's tough. And he pointed to the guy and says, how do you think he feels? He's never, and I says, comes from Ghana. I'm fighting from fucking Ghana. There's one argument in the room, and you got, it was a 30-second break too. Throw me back in. I'm going, this week once in his element. That you're going off there late after 3 rounds.
Breen doesn't hear you properly. He's turning the heat up.
He's turning the heat up, and no, he's saying it because he thinks I'm trying to wimp out. But I'm going like, I'm fucking down here.
Does he not realise it's 16 degrees in West Belfast? Everyone has their flory shorts on and their tops off. In Ghana, you've got a full-on Canada Goose coat on you.
You've your Burgos on.
Later in West Belfast and a pair of shorts, and in Ghana he's wearing a woolly fleece. It's crazy. It toughened you up. The spars were very tough. But one thing, I never was in tough fights except for probably the last fight I was with the John. I got cut. I think it was 15 or 16 stitches inside and outside of the eye. You couldn't see for 3 or 4 rounds, and that was kind of my only real tough fight that was there. But yeah.
You touched on it there as well, like when you were saying about the support you got off the back of Martin Rogan in that car, like the domino effect. Like your first 5 or 6 fights were in Ireland. What was that like going over to England then eventually, you away from your home support? Did that make much of a difference, like for you, fighting, like mentality wise?
listen, I had a core group of mates who came with me always, like, and when we retired, I brought everyone out, and we all, like, we had I went to the Tapanyaki place down in town, 3 levels. You went there. I brought everyone down there, and I like kind of said thanks for everything that come with me. Cause I had a core group that came, like, they wouldn't care. They would come wherever I was. Like, I think they missed one fight, and it may have been the first or second fight away on a Maloney card. And again, I was afloat, but this time I was fighting one of his fighters, and it was kind of like a sink or swim kind of thing. Not lucky enough. Breen said out that not same of anyone. They keep fighting on all these different cards, and that was how we were going to get active, because you weren't going to get active in Belfast. If another promoter comes in and you're aligned to one promoter, you can get on that other promotion card. I sold good tickets, so I was always kind of, word of mouth would have been good with me to put on a card. So first time going away, and Maloney kind of was having a look, as what we were told. They put me in with another kind of prospect, and we were scheduled to be first on. It was the first fight. I think Mick wasn't at. It was the first fight all my mates weren't at, and it was just my dad and John Breen. My dad came with me. He came everywhere with me, and that was kind of it. It was only us two. Your man had a bit of a crowd. He came in. He missed it. So we had a scheduled time at 6 o'clock to fight. To be at the ring at the fight at 6:45 or 7:15. First fight on the night, and he missed it. He didn't come. He says he didn't get the notification that he was at that. We ended up having the fight at 1 o'clock in the morning. Was a scheduled 8 or a 6 rounder. Scheduled dropped down to a 4. They're telling me as I'm walking to the ring. No music or nothing. You don't get no music at that time. When that's the thing that people don't see. These float fights, no one gives a shit. They're taking the ring down as you're fighting. I'm walking out to the ring, getting in the ring, and the whip is saying to me, "It's a 4-rounder. Be ready. It's a 4-rounder. I'm prepared for an 8-rounder. Prepared for everything." So and the guy kind of nicked the first round. So you start panic stations in a 4-round fight. All he has to do is win another, and he's guaranteed a draw. Ended up chinning them in the second or third round, but that was kind of the first kind of wake up, and like going like, I didn't have home support. I was the away guy. They didn't give a shit if I won or lost. There was no one really. I was no one's. I was nobody's boy. So that was kind of a bit of a wake up call, and understanding the true dirtiness in boxing. Yeah.
See, when you're being a floater, Jamie, like how long you're warming up for? Because like you don't actually know when you're coming on.
You're constantly on and off, so you're warming up. But they give you kind of time slots in terms of they'll go, if such and such hasn't, if there's no stoppages before this time, you're not going to go on till this time, like late or earliest, and so on and so forth. But it's not nice, and when I'm speaking with other fighters, I can sympathize with the positions that they've been in. So I think everything that I've went through at that stage of career is all kind of helping with others now going forward.
Yeah, some of the floaters don't even end up getting out sometimes, don't they?
Well, I remember McCluskey telling me he didn't fight on Ricky Hatton card, Ricky Hatton and McGee, and he didn't get a fight, but he got full pay. Obviously, Frank must have been licking his lips. He got full paid and got a fight then the next week. So, but some lads don't get fighting. There is a rule where you're supposed to get a percentage of your wage as soon as you step on the scale. So they have to kind of give you something, yeah.
It's a proper brutal sport. Like people don't see the things that happen behind the scenes, like, and then they don't see the wee small leisure centre shows that you had to go through and all them things like you said over the floater things before. Like obviously you're going on to win the European title. Like, you don't see things before that. So like things like that in leisure centres.
The iceberg, there's 90% of it is shake, is all hard, is tough. Promoters and the shake always rolls downhill. The fighter is at the bottom of the hill. They're always the one who's either getting screwed over, messed around in some way, and they have the least amount to say and leverage until you get to a certain stage. The 10% is what you see kind of on TV, and even that is fake sometimes. It looks good on TV and looks good, but they're still not probably getting paid what they should be getting paid, because every time you're always going to be. I always believe the fighter is underpaid no matter what, because of the risk that they take that comes with the sport. So not just the 8 weeks prior to it, but actually in on the night.
Jamie, you won the European title in your 11th fight, I think. Whenever you won that, did things change for you in Belfast? Like, did you become more recognised? Did you get better deals? That type of thing?
Well, no, I was always quiet. Probably too quiet. Didn't really use like their Tyrone McKenna, I think, is brilliant at promoting himself, and Michael and stuff like this. They're all very good at promoting stuff, but I didn't. I shied back. And even like when I was going through it, still now, like if anyone ever asked me, am I the boxer? I would say no, it's my brother. Always the way, and kind of, so nothing changed. My mates said the same. I still hung around with the same group of lads. Everything kind of stayed around the same area. Nothing changed. Money didn't really change drastically. So one thing it did let me do is give me kind of an opportunity, because the increase of wages, and I was getting on a bit better. I wasn't having to work. So I was able to go training full time. That was the key change in that regard, because started to become more and more title fights from there on in.
Yeah, it seemed around that time, like you won the European title. That's when Belfast started to really boom. Like you had Frampton then starting to really like get on the world level and stuff. You boxed on the famous Titanic quarter card. What was that like? That must have been surreal.
It's class. It was class. The build-up was class. We actually done a thing for BT Sport, myself and Carl, the other day, and it brought back some of the old memories. And like me and our Breen, he paved, ended up working on a site with a company to pave the Titanic quarter. Me and him were paving the Titanic quarter, I think, the year previous, when it was getting built. And the word exact plot we were actually fighting on, me and him helped pave it. So our brick it, so we did. So that kind of was always testing, like in my head. And I kept saying, like, a year ago I was helped build this. A year later I'm actually fighting on it. But I was down the card. I fought at dusk, where the sun was just coming down. It was a lovely breeze in between the rounds, and it was really enjoyable. For Frampton's fight, it was fucking Baltic.
I was going to say, Jamie, a lovely breeze is one way to put it. It was fucking freezing.
You'll never feel anything as comfortable. It was lovely. There was no real. See, when you get in the ring, it doesn't look it on TV, but see the height of the lamps above the ring and the lights and the cameras. It makes it uncomfortable at times for the main event. But when I was fighting, lovely breeze, everything was nice. In between rounds, you got like, it felt soothing kind of thing. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Sold a lot of tickets. People came down for Frampton's fight. It was freezing. I ended up sitting on Paul McCluskey's knee and my dad as well, with 2 cups of tea just to keep warm. And after a certain time, it just says, "No, what? He's won this year. I'm fucking off." I couldn't get out. Trying to get out for everyone, but yeah, it was class.
It was a surreal night for Belfast, and we owe a lot to Colum's uncle Barry for putting on.
Can I just clarify? I actually had to message another manager and like from a promotion company the other day, and I actually opened with, just to let you know I'm nothing to do. Like, we had Frank Smith on, and Frank Smith was like, "Look, it's the talk of here at the minute at Matchroom. Like, are you anything to Barry?" And I was like, "Frank, no. Like, I have to tell these people I'm nothing to him. He follows me on Twitter. That's it."
I said.
Yeah, I don't know him. I don't know him.
I think he's lying to us as well, to be honest. This close co-host, I think he's lying to us. Carl, actually, I sent Carl the Zoom link and it said hosted by Colin McGuigan, and I think he just left the chat. I had to ring him and be like, "Here, it's not anything to do with Barry, don't worry."
Yeah, so just to clarify for anyone listening, I am nothing to Barry McGuigan.
Jimmy, see that?
Why would you not be something to Barry McGuigan?
Exactly.
No comment.
Barry's a legend.
Yeah, he is a legend. I just wanted to clarify for people that I am nothing to.
Jimmy, see the outdoor event in the Titanic. Was that like sort of a thing you thought of for the Fela? Is that why you brought sort of like boxing? Because obviously that was a massive event and everyone buzzed off it. Was that one of the reasons why you brought the Fela sort of to like the Falls Park?
No. So Macklin was managing Michael at the start of his career. I was still fighting, and Macklin then I got the job with Sky, and he kind of said, "Listen, well, Michael wanted me to take over start managing Michael." At that moment in time, I had retired, hadn't officially retired, but I was just looking after the young guys, not really looking after them, coming to him face, giving him some advice on how to kind of go through it and what the pitfalls is coming up. Macklin then had said, so even when I was fighting, I went to every fight. So I went to Australia, Chicago, elsewhere, Arizona. We went everywhere. Me and my dad went everywhere. We just went around. So I was there. I was understanding everything. And again, the Miyagi treatment came in. Macklin was just saying, watch who I speak to, why I speak to him, understand why I'm doing this. And kind of for 2 fights, he said, just kind of watch what I'm doing. I'm going to go back. I'm going to work with Sky and whatnot. You take over. I think it was on St. Paddy's Day. It was a St. Paddy's Day. I think he brought me out and we sat down, myself, him, Bob Arm and Conor Moretti, and kind of says, right, this is what's happening. Jamie's going to look after Michael's career. This is how we're kind of going. So that was the way it all unfolded. Unbeknown to me that Kevin Gamble or Harry, one of them, had sent Macklin an email about working with Michael in the field, or can we get Michael to the field? And not long after that, I think we had a meeting, myself, Michael, Paddy Murray, and Kevin Gamble, and Harry Conley, and that was kind of the catalyst of the ring going forward. It was about a year probably before it. It was a full year planning, going over things, and it was everyone's kind of dream. We did look at what the Titanic Quarter, how their layout was, how they approached things, how we kind of got everything off the ground, but it was something I'd never done before in terms of setting up a full show, something they'd never done before. So we all were kind of just winging it, and it worked out brilliantly. But it was a proper partnership and a team accomplishment, because it was crazy. There was madness, every wee detail, and I think they do a book every year on each field, and there'll be a lot of things that they can include in that book in terms of seating company. We didn't have a seating company. We lost our seating company. We got a new seating company. We touched lucky with the Open, the Golf Open, being on at the same time of year. We were getting charged X amount for the seats, and then I think Kevin or someone had just said, "No, what the Open is on," or he had a contact in the Open. So we were brought the seating down from Portrush and put it in the Falls Park, and every kind of thing.
Nick Keaton as well pulling out, didn't he?
Nick Keaton pulling out was a big kick in stones. It was sickener that day. See when it went. So Iggy's, his manager, sent me a picture, and I said, no, sent me a thing saying, "Jamie, bad news. I need to speak to you." And I think I replied, "Fuck off." Before he even told me what it was, fuck off. I don't want to hear no bad news here. I was in my dad's house, back room, and so he rang me. He says he's done his bicep. I think he'd done his bicep, sent me pictures. And I remember sitting in my dad's, everyone's out the back. It was a nice enough day. Everyone there sitting in my dad's back. I think they're having a barbecue. And I'm going how do I tell everyone here? How do I break this news? And so I ring Mix in training, obviously. So I ring him and fuck. But I reassure, first of all, before I even ring him, I'd make sure I have someone else. I had 2 people already booked. So I got this guy in Argentina, ranked highly with the WBO, got another guy, French guy. So I booked both of them, got their purses already sorted before I rung Michael and just said, "Listen, everything's going ahead, but it's no Nick Keaton." So he went mental, because for him it was.
Of course, yeah. He was probably still concussed from the Olympics.
Oh, well, he'd been on a lot of Michael's undercards, and he was always trying to rub it in. He wore the Olympic tracksuit every time you seen him. The Olympic blazer. Was no need for it. No, he's all right. After he kind of came into the ring in Madison Square Garden when Michael beat him, he came over and says, "That's it. My family can rest," and that kind of thing. I kind of felt, I never looked at it from his point of view, whereas he's constantly non-stop getting trolled by not just Irish people from all over the world, saying that he didn't do nothing. He participated in a fight. Judges robbed him, and probably higher people up than him were involved in it. But I'm sure Nick Keaton thought nothing of it. He was just going into the fight. So he says, "My family can rest," and stuff like this, and going, okay, but then a few weeks later they're saying we were robbed, and I'm going, "No, what, you're a cunt anyway."
I was going to say, I'm starting to feel sorry for him there.
Jamie, see, just on that, you saying about the judges there. So obviously we all watched last night and we seen what happened. Is there anything you can think of going forward that changes that? Because it's going to get to a point where the UK is like Germany was, and no one's going to want to come and fight.
But there's you know what it is there's no one being held accountable for their actions. Whether it's the lack of depth in referees and judges in the UK, whereas they can't say you're gone and Joe is going to come in and take your place, or Barry McGuigan's nephew Callum is going to come in and take your place. Maybe that I'm not sure the kind of the depth and numbers of what they have, but there's no real. They say they do hold people accountable, but I don't think there is actual scrutiny on each card and accountability for their actions. No one is being made to stand up and justify why they scored a fight. You see now in football, referees being scrutinised in terms of having to come out and say why I called that a penalty or why I done a free kick. VAR now is messing all that up. So lucky enough, Ryan plays so low down he doesn't. No one cares. No one cares.
Do you know what? It's so true.
But like 118, 111 last night. How can two judges score that?
Absolute shocking.
But two of them.
What's annoying me kind of on it now, like we know Kiko because I know Kiko's team, Oscar and Ricky Powell and Oxley's are then. So they're good people. And Kiko, I brought in to spar Michael because I said to Mick, was it last year or something? Like sparring Kiko will tell you a lot more about you than you bringing in 10 numpties, because even though he's 30 or at the time or 32 at the time, he will test you in sparring. Every day he'll test you how hard he is. So my dad was over with Michael then, and he says Kiko was like the utmost gentleman. So I broke my heart a wee bit even more, because I sorted him in sparring, would text him and keep to see if he was okay when he's in England. All this here, you got to know him and his team. It hurt a bit more. So I was wanting him to win, and I was annoyed that he actually took the fight. I texted his team and says, "Why is he taking the fight 2 weights above him?" And kind of the lack of opportunities during the pandemic is kind of why they're going to give him a rematch now. Give him a fight at his natural weight, where he won easy last night. There was no
definitely won last night.
He lost the first round and maybe lost the last 3. So I give it 8-4 in his favor, maybe 7-5, a closeness. But give him an actual, the fight is like that. Your man has height, your man should have more power, should have more speed. I think he was unable to stop Kiko closing the distance. I don't think Barrett will learn from the mistakes that he made there, because I don't think he's truly learned from his fight against Ronnie Clark when he got exposed. If he does, I still thought even when Kiko was winning last night, he might get chinned later on, because Kiko's going to tire as the fight goes on. Your man's still going to have the freshness and the speed to kind of knock him out with power. But the way Kiko performed, you need to give him a fucking fight where it's an even keel. Like give him a fight where he's going to be able to have a fair crack at the whip. Give a fight where he's going to benefit from it. He beat Self apart. What's he going to do at 130? He's not going to go and fight Kakachi. He's not going to fight Frampton, Herring. He's too small. Give him a fight where he gets something off the back of it. But to go back to your point, the board, the officials, the judges, everyone needs to be accountable for their actions.
Like Eddie Hearn came out last night and said it, didn't he? And like you have to put a wee bit of respect on that for him saying it, because obviously he gets a lot of stick. He has nothing to do with that, doesn't he? Not.
I think promoters have to look at it as well, in the sense that just look at it as if he's won that fight, so we treat it for him like he's won the fight and give him good opportunities, like you said after that, because it's so deflating as it is to get that loss on your record when you won a fight. But like, you should be sort of like praised and you should be rewarded for what you actually did, even though the judges didn't see it. Yeah,
well, that's true, and he didn't need to, because ultimately he has no investment in Kiko Martinez. So he came out and he gave him his props. He pointed the finger. The promoters are always going to get stick, because they're the voice, they're the fall guy. When it goes good, they're the guy who gets all the praise, even though probably 25 dickheads in the background done all the work. They're the ones who's going to get the praise. When it goes bad, they're the ones the shit's going to get thrown on. So he came out and he voiced his opinion against the board, which is kind of going against the grain, because it was his own fighter who got the decision. All this here, but it showed that there was a bit of morality there and giving Kiko another fight, even though I still don't agree with the fight at that weight. But how do you stop it? It's a question probably us four won't get to the bottom of.
I know you're good mates with both. Is there any chance we'd get Paddy Barnes and Matthew Macklin on the next Fela card?
I thought they were slagging. Like, I thought it was a joke whenever I read it.
But I'd say Paddy has a few drinks on him. Or
Since he's retired, he's got angrier. 100%. His Twitter's completely changed.
why would he get angrier? He was starving all his life, and that's why he was angry. I always thought you're angry because you're hungry, but you need a Snickers. But now he's a wee fat shit, so he's angry. He's enjoying everything, but he's became very vocal on Twitter these days, hasn't he? He's constantly berating someone, politicians, journalists, everyone. He's getting on everyone, but he's madness.
Can't see Matt Macklin doing paddy bucks anytime soon.
See Macklin's getting in serious shape after he stopped boxing. Like, but I was surprised Macklin bit. Macklin doesn't usually bite, and they're again. Like a commentator, they're always going to get the brunt of what people say. Like, you know, it's a hard job, or it's very, very hard to kind of like toe the lane in terms of your. I think Box Nation used to do it very good, where your man Barry Jones, he doesn't really have a house fighter. Sky, etc., and BT, they have a fighter who the broadcasters invest. So the broadcaster invests in the fighter. Technically, they say, Colin McGuigan is a good fighter. We need to promote him, big and better, get him a better fight. I'd say that's fallen down to the guy on the mic saying, "Oh, okay, yes, Colin McGuigan is one of the upcomings from the." Us three think Colin McGuigan's shit, but Colin McGuigan, so they have to big him up in a way. But then they have to have a bit of, you have to have like an honest eye when it comes to it, and it's very hard. I think they get it wrong more times than.
Have you done a bit of punditry? Like, you've been on, haven't you, a couple of times?
I've done in between analyst.
Yeah.
After I've not done during the fight. Like I've done actually. I do the Ulster Seniors every year with BBC. I would do that there, and I enjoy it because for me, amateur boxing is the purest form of boxing. Watching amateur boxing, I get more kind of, I don't know, you get more enjoyable. You enjoy it more when you're watching how they do these small, minute things, and it's all over 3 minutes. It's a sprint.
So skillful. Yeah.
It's pure skill, all skill, and everything's done at high tempo. Madness is the way it's done. It used to be crazier when it was 4 2-minute rounds because, when you lost a round, you're chasing constantly. But for me, it's always the purest form. And the way the Olympics and amateur boxing is kind of slowly diminished because of Rio, it kills me a wee bit because I don't know about you, but I grew up on the Olympics. You grew up, the Olympics was the pinnacle of sport, and any young fighter I speak to, even I try to tell them to stay amateur as long as possible because my goal always was to go to Olympic Games. I knew I wasn't good enough at a certain stage, and I knew Michael was good enough, and that's why when we sat down in the room that day, I knew his career was to go there. It was to be at that stage. No one else knew it. I think the next year or the year after, he was beat by Becky Milligan in the Ulster Senior final. So there was a lot of still to prove, but we had seen it in the house and whatnot, and in the gym that for us was all, and that's still for my career highlight is not a fight of my own. It was Michael qualifying for the Olympic Games. Firstly, when we were relying on updates on Facebook or Shawnee's Facebook, like updates or round by round updates of people who were there. Like he was losing the first round, he drew it, he pulled it back to level in the second, and then won in the last. He beat the number 2 in the world, who's now with MTK as well, Nordi Nubali, French guy, world champion.
Yeah.
And then, I remember that day, it was me, my mum, my dad, and our Shawnee, and I think our Breen as well. I was out the back praying. We jumped around Kennedy Street just going crazy. No one else knew why we were going crazy, but it was, for me, that's the best day, like pure emotion, that. And then being in London for the Olympic Games, being a part of the Olympic Games, being around, seeing how everything was. And then when he won, with the same guy, beat the same guy the exact same way, losing, come back, and then winning, unbelievable. Guy had a Dublin guy who's a cup man, forget his name, Joe. He had a big high tech camera, and he was sitting beside me. And when it called out he won, I jumped up. His camera went flying, smashed everywhere.
No way.
But he didn't care either because he was with us. He was in the moment. It was that was unbelievable. Me, Brenton, Jimmy Bounty from Beachmount. he came over, like bunked in with us, stayed with us, like it was like an unbelievable 2 weeks. That whole Olympic, like that's why it always, like I remember them memories rather than Rio. Rio was horrific 2 weeks. Like that was like a funeral.
Oh yeah, it felt like a real golden era. Like as you said, I seen a photo the other day of the 2010 Commonwealth team. Yeah. Like that was fucking epic. But it did feel like because my dad would talk about like the sort of golden era of the amateur boxing, like sort of 60s, 70s and stuff. But I feel like we had our own sort of wee golden era. You know, in the sort of when you were boxing, like I remember like Andy Town Leisure Centre for the Ulster Senior Finals and stuff, and it was packed out in the atmosphere. The atmosphere was mad. Like now, it just felt, I don't know if it was because everyone turning over pro, but like the only people at amateur fights now is like Louis O'Meara sitting in the audience on his own. Do you know what I mean? There's no.
It has gone, like it really has. But I've got a slight gripe with people going pro and stuff now. Rather, I enjoy it because listen, the pro game is only getting bigger because of it. The more the merrier. It's you need different tiers. You need like Premiership, First Division, Second Division. Ryan McLaughlin.
Nothing wrong with that.
you need that. I think it's essential for the grow. You need kind of foundations for the grow. You need a proper base, and without the reason why I'm saying is because I think too many people are turning pro they're turning pro because they can't cut it at the elite level as an amateur. So they're turning pro. When I turned pro, no one turned pro. It was weird that you turned pro. You turned pro because you thought you were better than people, maybe. People are turning pro now saying, I've got a style for the pro games. It's not. It's because you can't win the Ulster Intermediates. That's the truth of it. And you're going to fight on small hall shows and you're going to tell your mates that you're a pro boxer and that's what you want to be known as. There's nothing wrong with it. But there's a bit of kind of honesty in it and you have to be hanged. That's where kind of I get a gripe of it. Still, for me, the amateur game is the purest form. Like when I still go, I still get a kick of watching the new lads coming through, seeing lads coming through, juniors to the seniors and how they perform and how they change. But it definitely has like Jim McCourt and stuff would say they're probably the golden age and they started winning the medals. They were the first kind of kicking us off on the small island and. I think that 2010 to 2012 class was unbelievable. Like,
incredible.
What they were doing was unprecedented. Paddy and stuff done it first off for the first in a long while in 2008, going to Beijing. Paddy Darn Sutherland and Kenny Egan, and what they done there was unbelievable, getting 3 medals. But then like it became a norm after that. It was like expected. Was never expected. Even now, like see when everyone failed, when they call it a failure in Rio, like it's the Olympic Games. You know what I mean? Like people are getting criticised and chastised about a failed Olympic cycle. We're still a small island of what I don't know, 5 million or something in this. So we're still a very very small island, producing at the highest level, like on even keel with the Russians, with the Americans, with the Cubans, with all them Eastern Bloc countries. That are bigger than us, stronger than us, and have more better facilities than us. So I think we're still there. We're still thereabouts, and it works in cycles. You'll after like this cycle, there'll be a new cycle coming through, a new generation coming through, but they won't. That's where we need to keep amateur boxing going because they won't have role models the likes of this generation having with Michael, Paddy, Katie, all Emmons coming through 2012. So. Yeah, it's I do believe that I seen the picture myself, and that when I remember that time, them come off games, Mick getting beat by Andrew Maloney and coming back, and that was what kicked him off on his run because he said he got off the back of the plane. Before he went, they all thought he was going to do something because he won those seniors, and they thought he was very very good, and he went and he gets beaten his first fight, like it hard. That could be damaging killer for an ego, like and damaging for a young kid. But he came off it and said he's never going to come off the back of the plane ever again. He's going to always the front of the plane was always you're always moved to the front with your picture, with your medal. He was kicked to the back, him and the rest of the lads who didn't get a medal, and that's what made him go. I'm never getting off the back of the plane again. I'm always getting off the front.
That's unreal. The mindset Mick has is just mental.
Yeah, well, that was another difference between me and him. He always believed, where I was always doubtful. I was always
His debut, he's walking out with McGregor, like with serious pressure at MSG. Like not many people could even go out and fight in front of that.
no,
Especially, I know obviously it was obviously an easier fight, like it's his first fight, but still, like you have to go out there and show and impress. People expect
And
him
even
to
for a
knock him out.
debut, it was like a tough fight, like wasn't it? Your man wasn't.
Yeah.
He was durable, like, and he's.
the thing with Michael is, and the thing that his, like, people think Mick has got right. So me and Michael we started on our professional career on two different ends of the spectrum. Like no one gave a shit, but like I lucky then I fought in Craigavon Leisure Centre and stuff like this. Always small leisure centres. Michael's fighting Madison Square Garden, 50,000 or 40,000 seater.
I play at a leisure centre every Saturday. Like it's not bad. It's not that bad. It's equivalent as danger at the Davnish.
Well, see, that was kind of it. But see the scrutiny that comes with that. Like you're under a microscope. You're not getting to learn your trade the way I was getting to learn my trade when no one gave a shit. Down the card at 6 o'clock. I fought in the Titanic Quarter, but I fought at 6 o'clock in the night. Only my mates came. No one else really cared. So you were learning. I was getting like they were all learning fights till I got to.
Me and my uncle Barry were there, by the way.
Well, Baza was there all right there. The only thing good about, well, he's done a few things, but he introduced me to Daniel Day-Lewis. That was a good thing.
I'm walking out the front door with Jerry.
That was the one thing Daniel Day-Lewis said was, "Are you in the Jerry Conlan?"
Oh, class.
There is Mick has to have that mindset because the amount of like the pressure that comes with everything he's done, the scrutiny that comes with it, and if you're like he's not knocking people out where they want him to knock him out in 2 rounds or a round because he's still developing and learning. He's not. It shouldn't be the main event, but the fan base that he generated from 2016, it forced their hand. Basically, there was a. I think it was my first time managing him, St. Paddy's Day. There was a world title fight, I think, on the undercard or Jose Ramirez, one of the got there, and they were saying we have to put world championship after Michael. I said, oh no. Sat down and said, listen, we have to. I says, you're going to put him on after Michael, so you'll be Michael on. He says, oh, and I just called it off. Go ahead. I'll tell every single person that's came over. Michael's fighting 8 o'clock. They'll fuck off, and you'll have no one for your birthday. So, look, I know it worked in our favor. Michael then became he's still him, but that's the kind of pressure that shouldn't be a headline act fight. It shouldn't be top of the bill. That should be down the card, learning the straight, playing it straight. Because he wasn't ready at that stage to be topping the bill. He is now. He's on the cusp of fighting for a world title, and I believe that he's looking better than ever. But at that stage, that's why then critics saying, I don't see it with him or this and that. He's only learning. It's all about learning. But the pressures that come with that, you're under a microscope. Every movement's under a microscope. Every time you get hit with a jab, he's not good enough. But you're getting hit with a jab because you're a 6-0 pro fighting a guy who's had a lot more fights than you and has a lot more experience than you and is in there to win. So you have a big target on your back as well.
See, a lot of people you see a lot of people have struggled with playing behind or fighting behind closed doors during the COVID situation. But Michael's last fight was probably one of his best career fights, wasn't it? So that just shows you the mentality he has to sort of block that out. That there's no fans there because he gets a lot of fans, and there was nobody there, and he showed one of his best performances. I think you've said that as well before, but I remember watching it, and it was unbelievable, the quality and the skill he showed.
Yeah, well, I was worried before because of that, because of the usual fanfare and everything about it. But it was a breath of fresh air. The price, the media obligations that he has on a fight week is insane, especially in New York. He's dragged everywhere. So one fight we were in New York, had to drive.
Sorry, guys. At this point of the podcast, we briefly experienced some technical difficulties, and it stopped recording for a few minutes. Basically, Jamie just went on to speak about Mick's media obligations when he's fighting in Madison Square Garden, which led us on to us speaking about basketball and then about American football. So it'll pick back up just around that when he's speaking about American football. Sorry again about that.
I know what you're talking about.
A hanger, so they should sell games. and I was year 2000 or year 2000, had to be 2000. I went in with my mate. Really bad what I'd done, but I went in and tried to steal FIFA. And I still get Madden instead of FIFA.
You
So
took Madden and just fell in love?
Never knew what American football was until that moment in time. Took Madden, fell in love.
Mate, I have the best idea, right? Me, you, Frampton, Herring. Before it, we'll sit and play Madden and then we'll go to the fight. What a night. We'll even get him Chinese and all.
Don't entertain this man. He'd get him where water wouldn't, honestly. He will be showing up.
He's hanging around with the Rook in New York. That's never a good thing.
I didn't even know
You weren't a Madison Square Garden if you're with the Rook.
No, Jimmy, but it will be great to see you ringside actually at Frampton Herring. We'll be sitting like you said as a basketballer, so leg to leg. We'll be right beside you. So no, I appreciate
we can't wait. Yeah.
Can't wait. But
I'm
Jamie,
looking forward to actually. So you're actually going to start applying for media credentials and all that? Or
we actually are.
Jimmy, you know it.
Is this what this is all about? Just to get media credentials?
Mate, you're on this.
Joshua shit and all this here. Is this why you have made this?
Jamie, listen to this. We are boxing. We run boxing now.
You're the boxing guy, Jimmy.
You have someone there for Liverpool. You can get your tickets anywhere, but
I can get us onto the movie side of. I can get us on the movie set of 007 if you want, lads. I'm a close friend of Daniel Craig, but I don't know about the other ones.
Jamie, thanks again for coming on. Though right enough, your missus probably hates us. So
my missus hates us at the minute, but it's sweet.
Thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Maybe down the line again we can get you on.
Yes, of course, sir.
100%. Thanks a million, mate.
Absolutely, gentleman.
Appreciate that, Richard. Top man, mate.
When I come on, Brian will have a bit of better for her lady. He bent down. We're doing the works on the top. You're looking at only 5'7", Ryan.
Right, there's another one for a spar session. Ryan's going to spar Mick and then spar you. Perfect.
Hang on. What? Like every time we have somebody on, I'm sparring them. Apparently, when COVID's gone and we're going into YouTube, like you're actually going to do a day in the life and stuff. So going to the training camps, hopefully. Like, well, we're inviting ourselves. Like we mightn't be able to accept it, but anyway, apparently I'm sparring everyone. Spike's actually asked to fight me at the Fila as well for charity, but I mean, to be fair, he's got a horrific hairline, so I'll actually go in the ring with him, no problem.
When are you going to just accept it and shave it?
I'm going to Turkey. I met Jojo Garland. Have you heard of Joseph Garland? Right, anyway, he's from Coonassilla. Half of Coonassilla have an unbelievable fringe now from Turkey, so like I'm investing in it.
Here, McCord, are you like, is that really like a fringe, or are you trying
It's a wig. It's a wig.
It is a wig, genuinely a wig.
Be this? I'm a great head of hair, lads.
Okay,
look at that.
I thought you were just like a lesbian in the 80s.
Yeah. Fucking Jamie. No, Jamie's running about like Jack and Titanic.
Anything that no one can distract from that thing over that.
Whoa.
Like, what is that?
Like that's a full head of hair, lads. What are you on about?
That's horrific.
Jamie, we're actually going to start getting him to turn his camera off during these podcasts. He's getting absolute dogs abuse in the comments, and he makes us delete all the comments.
Just keep a hat on the whole time. Like, just keep a hat. So you're going to go to Turkey and get a new forehead?
5 anyway. I need to shrink this one, but I need to get a fringe. Yeah, I'm going to Turkey to get a fringe.
Okay.
It could be this summer or it could be next summer. Depends when we're allowed in for media credentials.
Okay, so you're looking
it's on you.
For the big wigs.
It's on you because I'll be sitting next to you and Eddie Hearn ringside, you know, on a sky bill. And
I head away. I don't be liking the front.
Well, we'll take your seat. That's honestly no bother at all.
All credentials now, so Fila next year, or hopefully Fila this year, if all the plan. Like, we're looking at.
Don't you tempt me with a good time, Jamie?
Oh, Jamie, absolutely.
You've asked him for about 1 million things this hour-long podcast.
I'm gonna send him a list afterwards.
The credentials for the Fila was the most like BT Sport ever had to deal with.
No way.
Well, fuck, there's 3 more to deal with now.
If there is one, there only has to be one of the team who would have to go.
I would say no. I wouldn't go. I'd let one of them too.
I'll be going. Yeah, I'll go.
Technically, what he's going to do, he's going to walk on the camera like a poor man's cooking Cassie's.
No.
We're gonna vlog it. We're gonna do vlog it. We're gonna go around with a GoPro or a. No, actually, we're gonna have a film man following us.
You're going to have media challenges on that. You can't do it.
Yeah, we're gonna do something.
We're not gonna record any of the fight.
No, none of the fight. Yeah, it's gonna be us.
And I was on the phone to Mick today, and he says we can walk out with him as well. So
he just had
the 5 head is not coming anywhere near that.
Look, we need 3 media credentials and 1 extra one for my wig.
What's going to be the worst thing about it? The TV's going to say, "Listen, you need to move out of the front row, mate. Your head's." There's a glare coming from rings. There's some guy's head just beaming.
Absolutely love it. Tell you what,
I have a big massive forehead as well, but I've got a head of hair that.
Come on.
And I'm a big fan of that, Jamie.
Yeah,
I'm a fan.
Don't be feeling bad. I know my hairline is absolutely horrific. I know that, but it's in maintenance at the minute, and it will be sorted. Don't worry.
Say what you want to say, Ryan. Say what you want to say. You were going to say, but I'm rich. That's what you were going to say.
What?
You were going to say, but I'm rich.
On that note, folks, I think we should end it here. Ryan's just got the Rolex out.
Yeah, end this before we get cancelled.
Apologies about him, Jamie.
Nah, this is all a joke. I'm humble.
Well, thanks a million for coming on, Jamie. Honestly, really appreciate it.
Enjoyed it.
And we'll see you in Falls Park.
I'll send you a wee message afterwards anyways, and we'll get that. Thank you very much. All right.
Cheers,
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, nice one.
Well, folks, that was it for our episode with the main man himself, Jamie Conlan. I'd also like to just give a shout out to our 2 American sponsors, DraftKings and Manscaped. If you use our code BOXINGBRAWL, you'll get 20% off any Manscaped purchase and free shipping. And then join us again next week when we'll be back with another very special guest.
But I'd like to call that white girl problem. Better back in autumn. Every gift I try to get her, she already got them. Messing with the TA, wonder what she taught him. Work her way down, literally to the bottom. Where are all my best friends? How can I ignore them? Never gonna text them, I am too important. Look at what my dad bought, yeah, it was imported. He took a second loan, cause our family can't afford it. Nice guy, bound to finish last if it's a sport. Call her CeeLo cause she crazy and her arms are kinda short. Got a traffic ticket once, but she didn't go to court. And she interrupts my sessions every time that I record. So I tell her I got so much shit up on my plate, it's a buffet. Now we at